One last question on the best oils for brain fatigue would be sage and
So, sage is really good. Rosemary increases circulation and can be a bit fortifying. Basil is a cerebral stimulant. And so when you're trying to increase like mental function, and it offsets the effects of like mental stress, like for example, processing a bunch of paperwork or something, like, you know, how you're doing it and you're doing it and doing it, and then you're like, oh, I gotta stop. Like, I just can't take this. That's just mental stress. Like, you know, your brain got, you know, it's just like working out, but your brain, it's like, you know, either the numbers are too complicated or it's been too long, or, you know, basil will help offset that. Sometimes even with the mental stress, lavender can be helpful somewhat, but lavender sometimes I find to be a little bit too like relaxing, where you're like, yeah, I don't feel stressed, but I also don't feel like working anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Where basil keeps you a little bit more on task.
I like
Pedigree
that.
can be good as well. Even something like cinnamon or cassia can actually be strengthening to the mind. Like, not as quick, but maybe longer lasting are things like frankincense, myrrh, and the evergreens like spruce. Let's see, what is it? Frankincense and myrrh, and then fir and spruce. Maybe even mastic a little bit, you know, but any of the like real resinous like oils, like heavy or resiny kind of oils.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And are they kind of refreshing to the brain too? Because it's like my brain wants to be refreshed, and I think it's probably from COVID and stuff too.
Yeah, that might need a little bit of basil. Like sometimes like post COVID, it just feels like you have like you said, like the brain's just a little sluggish, or you just, you know, one of the students was saying like they were trying to answer it and they go, I can't brain today. You know, they were making a joke, but it's just like things get a little sluggish. And so I would say a couple of things with that. You could use basil. I probably still wouldn't rule out the use of sage, like, you know, the Dalmatian sage, triloba, just regular sage, even a bit of Spanish sage, and really like rub it all over your body, you know, salt bath, or I like the idea of a liniment or a ointment and rubbing it all over the body, or just like a bunch of drops on your wrist and rub it together. That can be helpful. The sage, the basil. Oh, and then the other thing is also the lovage. You know, like the thing is going through and detoxifying the tissue also does calm things down a little bit, calms down the nerves. And so lovage by itself doesn't really calm down the nerves like sage does, or, you know, vetiver or something like that, but it calms down, or it reduces the reason why the nerves got overactivated. You know what I mean? Like, so if you do sage at first just to calm everything down, and then you do another round with the lovage body tonic stuff, like maybe a few hours later or at the end of the day or the next morning or something, it just keeps taking the treatment deeper and deeper.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Sage, lovage, and then and basil.
Yeah.
Occasionally within water, especially
and the lovage isn't so much for the brain itself, but it's like how the body's going to impact the brain. And so right off the bat, the sage is probably your best bet, and then basil, either inhaling or a few drops internally, and, you know, drink it will help stimulate the mind. But then the lovage will keep it from going back to that place and keep reducing why it went to that place. So that's a combination. We are going to be talking about some of these like combination treatments on the weekend with the free class this weekend. And so versions of this we can talk out, like, you know, even more so for different health issues.
Thank you. I'll tune in. Thank you very much.
And recordings will be there too. So like, even if you don't get to do the whole thing, we're trying to make it all ready for you guys in booklet form and with recordings and things.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's great.